What up, everybody? It's Tonic. So I know this video is way overdue. Song came out a while back ago, but I just been going through some shit, and I just appreciate your patience with me. I am finally gonna show you how I made Witching Hour with AMAC and MaxMoon. So MaxMoon is a producer from New Jersey. He used to be a part of Outkast Block with Nico and Dago and the rest of us, and while he was during his tenure, he posted a beat up in the Outkast Block Discord, which if you're interested in joining the Outkast Block Discord and talking with some of us members and everything and seeing what we're up to, send a message over to Nico. Okay, but when MaxMoon was in Outkast Block, he posted this beat up in the Discord to the members, just saying like it's an old beat that he had. If anybody wants to work on it, hit him up. So I checked it out. It's this beat called Heavy Guitar Beat, and it looks like he made it. It looks like he put it up on SoundCloud like 2 years ago. And I'm not gonna play it here for you. If you want to check it out, which I highly encourage you do, just so you can hear what Witching Hour sounded like before as the original beat. Go check it out on his SoundCloud page, MaxMoon. Alright, I'm going to repost it on my page too, so it can be easier to find. As soon as I played this beat, I was immediately inspired. I could hear just so much potential in it. So I told him, hey, send me that shit ASAP. And he did, and I got to work right away. Alright, so Max sent me his files and dropped it in my DAW, immediately had some ideas for it. And this here is like an early project file that I have. You can where I was kind of like outlining some of the ideas that I had. Check it out. You see, like I was just kind of laying some ideas down. The first idea I had about this beat was that I was really hearing sort of like a EDM trap sort of sound. And so with EDM, it's very heavy on the production side. Max and I both being producers, I wanted this to be like a very advanced production sort of type of song. EDM's a genre I'm pretty familiar with, although I will say I haven't exactly perfected. I know the basics. So my main concern was making the drop sound really good and starting with the drop, because in EDM music, the drop is everything. And you can say that about pretty much any type of music or genre, but it's especially true in EDM. So that's where I started. And so I took this main guitar idea, this main melody of the beat, which was this. Let's see if I can isolate it. This. Okay, so that was like kind of the main, the core of the beat, and so I wanted to keep that intact. All I really did was I made that, instead of just looping that as a 4-bar progression, I changed up the tail of that progression a little bit to make it an 8-bar progression. So it sounds like this. It sounds like you heard this part, but then the second part. And all I did there was I just kind of cut up some of those tail end notes and changed them just so that it's a longer progression and doesn't get too repetitive too quickly. That's what I was hearing in my head, and so I took that main idea and I made the bass match. So I wanted the bass to also walk through a sort of progression, right? So let's see. This is when the bass starts coming in. I'll let you hear what that sounds like. You hear how it's a progression, how it goes boom 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 boom. That way it's not so boring, and it's not just the one boom 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 the whole way through. I feel like that would I personally would get tired of listening to that the whole time. So just making that into a progression was my next step. So I implemented these ideas into the drop. That's the progression I put into the drop here. Now I'll break this down for you a little bit, but it looks like, since this is an old file, I may have moved some things around, and some of my audio files seem to be missing. So I'll go to my latest version and kind of see if I can break some things down there. But what I can break down for you here right now is this ARP, which all right, so how I made that was I just took the main chords right here and threw an arpeggiator on them. So check this out. This is a Serum patch, and I think it's just a regular, it's just it's a regular ass preset that comes with Serum. Go to bass, go to angle grinder. Okay, you go to angle grinder. And I know I tweak some of these parameters here because I always do, but I probably just tweak some of these parameters, and this is what the chords sound like. Alright, I threw an arpeggiator on it. Right, I was like, that sounds fucking sick. Bounced that down into audio, and then I added some more processing on it, so I'll walk you through that. I put another filter on here, a notch filter, and I automated some of the cutoff here. All right, and then I added like an auto pan to make it move from left to right. I added a manipulator to add in some more higher harmonics and just some FM. Okay, I added just an EQ to boost the high end a little bit more. And then, let's see, what's the last thing? I added this ring mod here. And that's really what gives it the fun, I don't know, kind of like moving around your headspace sort of sound. Let me move over to my latest project file and show you some of the stuff there. So here we are in what is, I think, the latest project file. I had a ton of project files for this because it just kept saving several different copies, and it just kept saving over and over again, so as backup and insurance, in case something happened. Anyways, so what you might notice about this one and the one I just showed you is the time difference. The old one was 144, this one is 150. I had done a lot of work already in the project and bounced a lot of the sounds out into audio so that I could, cut down on my CPU. Because there's a lot going on in this track, and bouncing down to audio is really a helpful way to cut back on some CPU while you're working, so you don't overload your project. I realized the song needed to be faster. It was, at 144, it just kind of felt, it was a little too slow for me, and it was dragging a little bit, and it just didn't have the sort of energy that I felt like the song needed, so I made the decision to go ahead and speed everything up, and it just kind of sucks at that point because I had already had a lot of sounds bounced down to audio, and when you're time stretching audio, you got to be careful with how far you go, because if you go too far, your ear can really start picking up on the artifacts that it produces, and it makes the quality sound really not great. So I really tediously went in and time stretched every element and made sure that it all still sounded okay at the new speed. But it was it was something that I should have done way earlier on. So I would recommend, when you are building your project, figure out what speed you want it to be at in the early stages. Don't be a dummy like me and figure out after you've done so much work into it that you want to change the speed of it, because that just messes everything else up. So anyways, again, I was starting with the main drop 1 here, and so the main sort of guitar sound that Max had and that he had started with, I wanted to preserve that and have that in the drop. So this is basically what that sounded like. And again, I recommend you check out Max's original beat so you can hear how it originally sounded. I changed some of the notes around so that it moved along with that progression that I showed you. I was working, Max had unfortunately not kept the MIDI file for it, so I was just working with audio here. So basically what I did was I just took the audio file, cut it in those places that I wanted to change the pitch to it, and pitch those pieces down. That was really all I could do, but I think it sounded decent enough, right? The original beat was like this heavy guitar beat, right? And I kind of wanted to keep that sound. What I did with the bass really was I broke it up into different spectrum sections. And what I mean by that is I broke it up like into the sub bass, which you can hear right here. And into this mid bass right here. And then like a higher bass. And then all of those combined kind of sound like one big bass. Right, and that's the idea behind that. Over here for the second half of that first drop, it's the same sort of thing. All I did for that was, let's see. All I did for the second half of the drop here was I added a like a vocoder element to the bass to make it more resonant and just give it a different sound, so it's not just repeating the same shit that's over here. As you can hear, and I just changed it up in the mid bass there. Everything else is the same. As long as the bass sounds good, everything else is secondary. So for me, it was just about making sure that that bass is big, it's full, it's filling the spectrum, and it just, does what it's supposed to do. I added this kick, which you can hear it sounds kind of intense, right? But on its own, sounds like a really big and full kick, which is good. A lot, you can hear all the different elements to it, but when you put it in context with all the other different sounds, it's just kind of what it needs to cut through the mix. Right, so a lot of things in here are sidechained to the kick so that it can cut through better. But this kick, I really just made sure was just kind of full in the spectrum, had an element everywhere. As you can hear, there's some top end to that kick. All I really did was I just layered some different elements, right? I took a kick drum, I took a couple of other different sounds to put on the top, and I just layered them together, leveled them and layered them together. And then the processing that I have on that is just a limiter, Saturn, which no longer works for me right now. Whoops, because I upgraded to Saturn 2. And then I just have, let's see, another compressor really to add some clip distortion on there. That's really what that's doing. And then the EQ just to bring it down a little bit. I didn't really change anything here. It was really just for me to monitor what the kick looks like And then I just wanted to keep this main melody going throughout the drop too. So you can hear there, I just took the main melody, just turned it up an octave, and then I just brought it down to its original octave for the second half. Right? Cool. I just layered up that melody a little bit to make it more interesting, and that was really it. I just built out this drop till I felt like it sounded pretty good. And once I was satisfied with how the drop was sounding, I had all the elements and everything in place. I went back to kind of build out the intro into this, into the sort of build up section. So that was easy. I just really wanted the melody again to be the main core of it. Just adding some atmospheric pads and elements to it. Here's where we get to the build up. And so these sort of steamy effects that you hear were an idea. So I was making and creating this song around Halloween time. And so I was really into spooky vibes. And this whole vibe sort of made me visualize and think of things like old classic spooky movies. If any of y'all have ever seen or heard of Something Wicked This Way Comes, it's this old ass movie. It's got this like sort of haunted ass train that comes through the town, and that's sort of like what I was visualizing when I was making this song and hearing. So I just added in these sort of steam engine effects here and there to just give it this extra element and make it feel like this train ride of doom that's gonna take you on this spooky adventure, you know, whatever. And you can definitely hear that over here in the section right after the drop. It's like Harry Potter if he was in Slytherin or some shit instead of Gryffindor. So after I had these sort of main elements here, it really came to this next build-up part was pretty normal for me. I just kind of followed through my same processes that I always do. With this sort of track, I usually like to do a first drop into a sort of a second verse / build-up section into a second drop that's totally different than the first drop. Listen to my song Picnic Satellites. I basically followed that same formula, but that's just, I don't know, that's just kind of like how I like to do it. So this part sounds really dirty, right? And I was fucking with that sort of sound. I was adding in this sort of gritty bit distortion. Let's see, which elements are those really on? You're gonna find those really here on the snare, I think, here. I don't know, I just kind of liked that sort of digital, gritty, I don't know, top-end sprinkle, if you want to call it that. Oh, yep, here we go with the system overload, where it's already starting, folks. So the main thing that y'all wanted me to break down, though, was drop 2, which I totally understand. So I had the whole song, basically, intro to up till this point, up till the build up to the second drop, all thought out, all done, and just completed. All I needed to do was finish this drop 2, and then basically I was done from there. Getting the outro and all that, that's easy after that. Drop 2 admittedly took me a minute to figure out what the hell to do there. Okay, so as you can hear, way different than the first drop, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted something fucking crazy and something that sounded really Trap Nation-y. I was searching for inspiration. I had so many different ideas that I've played around with before. I finally kind of settled on this. So what I did here to help myself get inspired was I actually just dropped in this cymatics trap loop that I have. And here it is, and you'll be able to directly hear the influence. Check it out. Okay, right? That sounds an awful lot like... You know, similar in ways, right? Because I just dragged that in and built around that as inspiration. Okay, some of those sounds that you hear are just directly from this cymatics loop and or from other cymatics loops. I didn't even take the time to sound design those basses. I took the time to sound design a lot of other different basses before settling on just these loop sounds. Okay, so check it out. This is like the main nuts and bolts of drop 2. I don't know why. I mixed in, processed, and bounced like all these different sounds all together and shit, but don't fucking ask me. So I had all these different things going on. A lot of the bass sounds that you hear are just sounds from some of the cymatics trap city loops that I just took and mixed and matched together and did a lot of processing on myself to make them sound different and sound unique. But that's pretty much what I ended up doing. Check it out. So you can hear some of the stuff that I used in there, right? That was just a matter of putting those pieces of the puzzle together, basically. And what I did to help myself with that was I took the main melody that we had, that we started with, that guitar melody that we're working with this whole time, and added some processing, some crazy processing on it, and chopped it up and made it into this. You know, I knew I wanted the main melody to still be in there, but now it's doing something way different, right? And I kind of use that as a guide to kind of help guide these sounds right here, where they should fall. That's all I did with that. I just used those things to kind of help me along the way and build my ideas out. And then with the sub bass, this is just a sub bass. These things I sound designed and threw on there. You know, the bass in all those elements itself needed some body, so I added in that sub bass. I'm gonna see if I can find one of my earlier project files that still has some of the audio elements, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys, so I went back and I could not find an earlier project file that that broke this down further than this. So I'm sorry, guys. I'll still kind of like go through it with you and kind of show you each element, and you can kind of decipher for yourself kind of what I did, I guess, and what my process was. So this is like what the drop 2 looks like, and it looks stupid. And this is probably not the best way to do it, but honestly, I don't really know, but this is just how I did it. I don't know why. As you can see, I put like what I felt like were all the main drop 2 elements into a bus so that I could sort of process all the sounds together, so that there wasn't anything sticking out too much. Anyways, let me just kind of break it down for you, and you can kind of see for yourself the mania that is my mind. So these are like the trap These are like the trap horns right here. All right, I'll show you this little bit right here. This one you can see the processing on. Let's see, we just took the very stereotypical trap horns. Had to sneak in that poopy butthole there. Shout outs to anybody who recognized that. You're a special person to me. There you go. That's pretty much all I can show you. Anyways, that's all there is to that drop. I I don't know how to explain it to you other than it was really just like putting these puzzle pieces together and making it sound like a listenable thing. But I don't know how to explain that better. I wish I did. I wish I could. I am sorry. Let's head on back over to the... Oh yeah, you can still see here, I had to go back to... This was still in the 144 that I was telling you about. So I was still working in 144 here up till this point even. Like, I had built out so much of this song in 144, and then I finally decided to change the tempo to 150. All right, so I had virtually everything done. I had the drop 2 done. This outro here is something I was kind of just freeballing. I had these ideas. I had this art. I had these ideas laid out. I didn't have some of this other stuff that came later. But then at this point, I had the track pretty much done here. I just sent it back to Max for him to add some of his ideas in. In the meantime, I was thinking about adding some vocals onto it. And so what I did was I basically just freeballed this verse up here, this kill once, not kill twice. I just thought it'd be fun and dynamic and just different to have these weird whispery, screamy vocals on there. And so I just laid down this idea and these vocals here. And this is AMAC right now, but this is the idea that I sent him.
Kill twice. I'm moving when the clock strikes. Kill once and I kill twice. I'm moving when the clock strikes. Kill once and I kill twice. Moving when the clock strikes. Play dumb and I'll play nice. Kill once and I kill once and I kill once and I kill once and I kill twice.
So that was the idea that I sent him. I like kind of did that into my mic. This over here too. This crazy laughter and this right here too.
It's the witching hour. I've gone too far.
I've gone too far. It's the witching hour. So I came up with the song. Again, it was like Halloween time and everything, and so I came up with this whole witching hour sort of idea for the song. So that was all in my mind. I had written out this part, and well, I knew immediately to send it to AMAC. He's another OCB member. We have collabed together on one of his songs called Resurrection. If you haven't heard that, I highly recommend you check that out. But from my experience working with him before, I knew that he was the right person to send this to. So I told him, like go crazy with the laughs, and go crazy on the outro. Do some like crazy ass Joker laughs, whatever you want to do out here. My man more than delivered. And he added in his own flair and own things here and there too, like these little ad libs right here for the second drop were his idea. Some little fun things here and there they threw in, I really appreciate. Max got back to me with his with the elements that he added in here and there too, and I sprinkled some of those in there. He came back with this guitar out of drop 1 that I really liked. Yeah, I was really digging that. He also added some things to the outro here. Okay, so yeah, honestly, some of the stuff that Max added were these very subtle elements that you wouldn't prominently notice, but it really adds to the track and to the layers that we have. So check it out. He added these strings right here. And together collectively in the track, you can hardly hear that, but it really does add another atmosphere layer on there. I just added in a couple of things to make it sit better with everything else, and I added this pitch correction to make it, I don't know, have this wobbly weird effect. Check it out. Together with everything sounds kind of like this. I really wanted these bell towers in there to be ringing, indicate, the witching hour thing, tying back to the whole title and theme and name of the song. These were the little things that I think people overlook, but for this song, I felt like it was so important to have all these different elemental atmospheres going on to really drive home the sort of imagery that I wanted for this song, this haunting, witching hour sound and energy. And the fire, I think, was really appropriate because of, it made me think of like the Salem witch trials and stuff and how they would burn witches alive and that sort of thing. So having that fire crackle out till the end there was, I don't know, just a fun idea. So, I mean, yeah, the whole song just kind of came together in this way. I really just, again, started with the first drop. Really wanted to keep the main guitar melody, the main idea of everything. Built out the intro and the build from there, built out the second section. Took a while with the second drop figuring that out, but I just dragged in a cymatics loop that really inspired me from there and helps me kind of figure out what I wanted to do there. And once I did that, built out the outro, wrote these things here and got them recorded from AMAC. MaxMoon added in some of his transition and subtle effects that were really nice. And together, like the whole thing just wrapped up and tied up together really nicely. EDM, that genre, is a really tough genre to kind of produce in my opinion, because you're working with so many different elements. As you can see, including my master channel here, I have 154 tracks just in this, and this is after I bounced out a lot of elements and condensed a lot of things. So I have tons and tons of things going on in this it's really, you really got to stay organized and know how to organize all these different sounds. But yeah, that's what's fun about EDM music to me, is I love it, and it's always a fun challenge and always pushes me and my abilities to their limits. I always love that sort of style of music and always continue making it so that I can get better and learn new things. So I know most of this video has been behind the hood. I hope that it wasn't too boring for some of y'all, but what came after that? And this was coming together last October, and I really wanted to have something ready for Halloween. I had a lot of projects and things going on at the same time. I was planning on having like a pretty big October and having a lot of things ready, but it turned out that only a couple things came through. And that was Witching Hour and Exit Life. Exit Life was ready to go, and Nico was ready to go with that with me, but I kind of wanted to drop Witching Hour first because I felt like it just had more Halloween specific, you know? It was really meant to come out in Halloween, so I was like, I really want to drop this one first. Streaming platforms wouldn't have had enough time for it to be ready for it to come out at Halloween, so we just dropped it on SoundCloud, and then we came out with Exit Life, and then we dropped Witching Hour on all platforms soon after that. It was kind of a little mix-mashy, but I hope, you know, the songs could kind of feed off one another and people would be kind of checking out both things. Anyways, I hope y'all liked Witching Hour. It was a really fun song for me, and I think for Max and for AMAC too. You know, it's one of the more creative songs I think I've worked on and done, and I don't know, it just was cool to be able to really express all of my crazy ideas, and I'm glad that those boys let me do that. MaxMoon, really fun producer to work with. I don't think it'll be the last time I work with him. AMAC also, always a pleasure to work with him, and he's super crazy and cool. He does all sorts of music. He does like the screamy type stuff. He does like old school rap and everything. And he just dropped a mixtape, so I like a 5 mixtape, so I would recommend checking that out. Oh, so I almost forgot this artwork, right? So I had found this artist named Nico way back when I was looking for Nico. I came across this other artist called Nico. I checked out his IG and I loved his artwork. So I hit up this guy to see if he would do some artwork, and he was working on something for me, and then he came back and hit me with this cover for Witching Hour, and it's super, super dope. It's like honestly one of the coolest artworks I've had, I think. So yeah, if you fuck with that, check him out. Tell him I sent you, alright? I hope you like this video. I hope you guys enjoy learning about how I make my songs and how things come together. I think it's always a fun sort of story to tell. So as always, I got more in the works, and yeah, more's coming. Of course, I gotta do a how I made it for Seems Like. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.